Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. And here we go. We're live. Episode 156 of Live at the Hive Digital Marketing from the Trenches. I am Dan Nadelko.
Producer Matt Stefanich.
And I'm Chad Gillen.
All right. And this is our, 52 weeks in a year, 156th episode. We are 3 years old.
3 years old, baby. There you go. Wow.
Right. How time flies.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, everybody.
Yeah, happy birthday, everyone. That's right. Happy birthday, Live at the Hive.
Happy birthday. It's been a wild 3 years. Lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of all-arounds. But
I think we've been through 3 or 4 different studios. From your office to the big, to the tannery, to the big room, and now not at the Hive. So
live, not at the Hive, which doesn't seem like it's going to be changing anytime soon.
Not at least for the foreseeable future, but
it is what it is. We will keep on keeping on in the digital virtual world. So today we are talking about probably more than 20, but 20 ways that you can build your business's social media presence. Simple tips that we've used in the field that anybody can implement. And hopefully you're going to find them useful. Some are simpler than others, but we tried to keep it as straightforward as possible. The kind of the saddest thing you see is a business that's kind of posting and preying on social and not fully engaging with their audiences or trying to build their audiences.
Yeah, for sure.
The single biggest mistake.
Yeah, and I think right now, especially with coronaviruses, people they don't have a big enough budget as they might have before coronavirus hit, right? So the resources are a little bit strung. So these tips will really help small businesses as well as nonprofits, charities, even larger businesses, B2B businesses. So this is Tidbits for everyone to listen up for. So we got some good stuff for sure.
Absolutely. And we got a great comment. Thank you, Tyler. This is the live stream I needed in my life.
Yeah. And I really like the Gorilla's profile picture. So good to see you, Tyler. Really good. I think they had some new music drop recently too, which was a kind of a breath of fresh air through to coronavirus. So definitely interesting.
For sure. And April.
Here. Happy birthday as well, Dan.
Yeah, Sunday is the day.
Did we plan that out where it's oh no, well, it's not the same day as Live at the Hive, but that's pretty close.
It's close. So no, that was completely unplanned. It was definitely not a thing. It's just a happy accident, as Bob Ross would have said, the famous Bob Ross.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we can start out with a little bit of things we love this week. We haven't done that one in a couple of weeks.
Let me bring up the video really quick.
For things the video?
Yeah.
If you're feeling, I'm feeling, and you know I won't stop. All we gotta do is take our love to the top.
Yes. Things we love this week. Tons and tons of good stuff. We can't report it all, but the best ones we'll definitely showcase right now. So
absolutely. So a few really cool things this week that we ran into. Can you pull up maybe Hannah Rampton's website?
Yep, for sure.
So this one comes from #SEO Twitter. So if you're not familiar with that jargon, there's like political Twitter, there's SEO Twitter, there's design Twitter, there's all sorts of different Twitters. And Hannah is an SEO, I believe, out of the UK, since she's got a code UK. And she has built a couple of really awesome tools for Google Search Console Explorer Studio. There's a Google Data Studio version. There's a Google Sheets version. They're both fantastic tools. They're free. And congratulations to Hannah. She crossed over 200,000 active users on these tools.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big milestone. Good job.
Huge.
Wow.
So one of the things you can do with this is you can navigate Google Search Console, which is extremely powerful. And if you've got a website connected to Google Search Console, you get a wealth of information. And Google has been pushing a ton of effort towards Data Studio updates and Data Studio reporting, and Hannah's managed to keep up with it and provide some great data visualization. So
yeah,
great one.
I'm a kind of a data geek myself. I like kind of seeing data being spread across cool graphs and stuff like that. So this is definitely something really cool. So kudos to Hannah. Really nice.
Yeah. Next up, LinkedIn's been on a bit of fire here, which is great to see because I know, a lot of people give LinkedIn flack. We just had a webinar a couple of weeks ago talking about social selling and how to kind of groom the feed and warm the feed the right way, and so you don't get all that spam. And LinkedIn has been doing a great job, and it is a really effective tool. So they've released a number of new guides to help marketers, build your brand. I believe there's a B2B. Lots of really good tips from the team at LinkedIn, so you know that that's coming straight from the horse's mouth as well.
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes straight from the horse's mouth, like you said, it's going to be packed in with some really great tips, on creating these ad experiences, optimizing your profiles, but as well as kind of like little hints towards the algorithm, right? So, I mean, LinkedIn with these guys, they're just kind of begging people to kind of utilize their tools and their ad platforms. So some really good stuff. Yep.
Totally. Sorry, I accidentally hit the wrong button and I logged out, but I logged back in real quick.
I didn't even notice. There you go.
Didn't even notice I was here. And last up, we've got Kevin Indig, well-known SEO and growth hacker. I believe he's still with G2 Crowd. He also has TechBound. Him and Phil Nottingham, who's very well known inside of the video SEO space. They dive deep into long form video, Wistia, and drama. So definitely worth checking out. It's an excellent watch from two definite movers and shakers in the SEO world.
For sure.
All right. So there we go. Things we love this week. Things you should be checking out. All right.
So now I think we can move on to the main event for today. I think, as we go through this week, Matej's, let me pull up this infographic really here for us. So we have a how to attract more bees with honey. So, this is 20 tips for, growing your social media platform, and we'll go through each one. Some are a little bit more lengthy and detailed than others, but we have some really cool articles to also supplement for you guys as well, to kind of take a look through this weekend. So, why don't we dive in with number one? And Chad, why don't we lead off with you, and you can just kind of lead into this first tip here.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Just before we do that, I just want to kind of mention to everybody. I think one very important thing about being a business on social is developing your brand persona and developing it. And when you read your content out loud, does it sound stale or does it sound natural? That's the first and most important thing, is to develop a real personality for your brand. And if you are your brand, it's much easier. If you're representing a larger company, you should still have a voice and a personality and a style of talking and who you're talking to, so you're speaking the same language. That's the first and most important. So over to you, Chad.
Sure. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So for the first tip there, just warm up your accounts by liking and commenting on at least 20 posts. So when you just go into, you log into your accounts, you can just go through your feed and just find relevant posts and stuff like that your audience is interested in and that is relevant to your brand and your company. And just go through that and like and comment on, just like spend like 15 minutes in the morning going through like 20 posts on all your channels, and then maybe another 15 minutes in the afternoon, 15 minutes in the evening. It's less than an hour a day. And it will really just kind of improve your reach and kind of get you out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is one of those tips that, it has many different layers to it for sure. So, for example, commenting on different posts and things like that, 20 different posts, over 20 posts, that's a really great way to kind of flag attention to your account too. But underlining that layer, there's, utilizing the application natively through your phone as well. I think a lot of people just kind of stick to utilizing or going through their social media account timelines through, Hootsuite or whatever social media calendar platform or monitoring platform that they use. So, when you're getting in there with the guts, actually utilizing the platform on your phone, it really flags to, the platform, the algorithm that this person's active. Let's push their account up to the top. They're engaging with content outside of their own. So yeah, I think that's a really good point behind that first point for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yep. Sorry, Chad, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say it's also a really good point, just to kind of reiterate that, just to go through it natively on the actual app itself, as opposed to looking at it on your desktop. Because the app will read it like that, and if you are on your desktop, it reads that you're from the desktop, so it doesn't work into the algorithm the same. So it's definitely a good idea to go through the app natively.
Yeah, for sure. Even posting too, I think a lot of the times it might be something that goes underneath the carpet or just under people's radar, but posting natively, maybe you haven't posted natively on your platform for like maybe a year, right? We kind of get in the groove with utilizing Hootsuite and stuff like that. But if you can make a post or dedicate some like few minutes just to like put in some extra care into posting that post natively throughout the platform, that's another really great way as well. Yeah,
for sure. And always remember, not much adds up to a lot if you do it frequently. Just a quick calculation. If you spent 15 minutes a day for a month, you would be devoting 7.5 hours to that effort. So 15 minutes a day, not much, but it will result in very good dividends for you and for your business, especially. Again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, maybe, it's engagement versus posting content. You get a lot more, especially on platforms like Twitter, on Instagram, by opening conversations and continuing conversations with people, whether they're aligned brands or your customers or groups that are interested. And it makes an amazingly huge difference.
Exactly. Yeah. Posting comments, liking other people's content. That's also you posting content as well, right? That's not necessarily just stuff on your timeline, but other people's timelines as well. Really important that you keep that in mind. So before we move over to the next one, let's just kind of showcase Stacy's comment here. Stacy has a really good comment. Social channels want you to use them the way that they were designed. So if you like, comment, etc., it'll recognize that you are using the tool the way that you wanted to and reward you for it. Absolutely. Really good point, Stace. Thank you.
Very good.
Said.
Alrighty. Moving on to number 2, because we got to go through these guys.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll make it. What is
so
it?
number 2, turn a blog post into a video.
That's right. And maybe you can flip over to promo.com. That's a good one.
Yep, for sure.
So if you may not be a video editor, right? But promo, there's a whole bunch of different ones too that will do the trick. Flyer is another one. These video makers allow non-technical people to create content. Looks good. You can customize it, and you can take that content from their blog posts and list style and summarize it in that video in a few short turns, and then start taking advantage of the video algorithms that exist, which are quite a bit stronger than the plain content and just sharing a blog post.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even with this is a really good tool just to kind of freshen up some of your content, right? I mean, you could ideally, if you have an image and a caption to go with it, maybe you can find an appropriate video on here or make one yourself really quick and easy and kind of just upgrade that piece of content just that little much more, and it'll definitely go a long way for sure, because sometimes the videos are prioritized within the algorithm versus just straight up image content, right? So definitely something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Chad, I know that with some of the accounts that you manage, you've been seeing some of the power of video versus static post content.
Oh yeah, videos tend to almost always perform so much better than just like even like a good strong image or or a text post. It's a lot easier to digest, and even just like the way the human brain works, you retain so much more of the information through video. So
For sure.
it's a really good way to get little snippets and little snackable bits of information out there. And and people tend to watch, like, if you even when you're going through your feed, like how many times have you seen a little video clip and stopped and watched it even without the audio? The exact same content, the exact same information written in a text post, you could just fly right past it. You might just see a wall of text and you might not even see any of the words.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good point, Chad. Also, take the extra time to maybe try and create some either closed captions or subtitles for your videos, because I'd probably gamble that more than half of the users on the platforms are going through their timelines with their vibration on their phone or sound off their phone, right? So if you can add those captions to your video, just quick little extra step, you'll probably find that your video gets a lot more engagement versus without the captions. For sure.
That's true.
Well, sorry, definitely a couple of things. I believe the stat is human beings translate images and video 60,000 times faster than words.
Wow.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the number and I couldn't pull it off the top of my head.
I'm pretty sure that it's that. And secondly, always closed caption. Over 90%, well over 90% of all video, especially on Facebook, is listened to mute on. Right, so you have an opportunity to use those captions, and promo and another tool called Subtitle that we featured this week on social. A great tool will do auto captioning, and then it's got a nice little editor that you can tweak if it makes a little mistake here and there, and you can set the timings and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even if it's a blog that you actually need to transcribe to, there's services out there on Fiverr that are relatively cheap and really high quality for businesses to take advantage of as well. So definitely keep that in mind.
But
I pulled up Tyler's comment beforehand, but we couldn't get to it. But definitely agree with that, Tyler. Tyler agrees that treating social media like a community platform and not solely as an advertising outlet. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Remember the analogy that I like to use is social media is closer to a telephone and less like a television. You're just talking to somebody, not just talking at somebody. But yeah, Tyler, that's a great point.
Absolutely.
I read a quote in one of the articles earlier today. It's something like that. It was basically saying, try not to gain followers, but gain relationships. It's kind of the same thing, but it's just, taking a different word and taking a different sort of mental approach to it.
Exactly.
Sure. Awesome.
Very cool.
Moving along here. Number 3 is going to be going live. So this is something that we've talked about quite a bit on Live at the Hive, but it's definitely something that we want to keep pushing, is that, taking the time to create some live video on the platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter with Periscope. Just taking the time. It doesn't have to be an hour or a half hour, maybe 15 minutes. Just go on, talk to your audience, get them to ask you some questions, maybe update them on some of your products, or maybe what's going on in the office even. I know a lot of the times, it's a bit difficult now with COVID-19, but a lot of the times we've showcased events that are happening throughout the live. And we've utilized live platforms to kind of broadcast that.
I think it goes without saying, we're doing it right now. The other thing that's important to keep in mind with live, and I think a lot of people get discouraged about the actual live viewers. When we started, we had 0 viewers, realistically. And even now, we get 10 to 20 concurrent live viewers. But what happens is that, and Chad, you mentioned this, and I'll let you use your little story from before, is you create an archive and a library of we have pretty close to probably 150 hours of video content over the last 3 years. It's relatively easy to put together. You do have to do some production and be calm in terms of comfortable in terms of talking, but think more about the fact that those videos turn into a massive content library that people can basically consume on demand, more like a Netflix rather than necessarily actual live TV.
Exactly.
So, and Chad, you were just mentioning something that you were doing before you joined us at the Hive.
Oh, how I was, when I was going to school, I was actually watching Live at the Hive on my bus ride to school and back. So when it was just about a 45-minute ride to get to school, So it's basically perfect amount of time to watch one of the Live at the Hive episodes, and I was just kind of getting familiar with Honeypot and seeing what it was all about, and it was kind of a really good way to just get to know the staff and just get to know what, and even get a lot more information about digital marketing. We didn't cover a ton of that in my program, so it was kind of new territory. So I wanted to kind of dig into it. Yeah, it was just a really cool opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. No, that's great, and you know that as like this live stream was my idea, and I was like, we were waffling around on it for a long time, and there were project briefs, and then I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna go live Friday afternoons. Let's just go live. And some of the early episodes are probably, you know, questionable in terms of quality, but if you take it to the nth degree and you look at someone like Joe Rogan, go back 10 years when he started podcasting and look at the difference then versus now, it's important to just do it and not to get too caught up and too worried about some of the problems you may run into.
Yeah, I mean, we've had our fair share of roadblocks and stuff like that on live power outages and stuff like that.
All
so
stuff,
you know, you get used to it for sure.
You're always going to find issues. That's a really good point, just to jump into it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Next one that we can talk about is curating user-generated content, so UGC. So what does that mean? It means basically, you know, reaching out to your audience or going through your audience's feeds or their profiles and picking out content that they've showcased that relates to you or that actually showcases your company or your product in it, and sharing that with your audience, and, you know, recognizing that these users are, you know, posting your product and they're showing that they're advocates for you, right?
Sure. And I mean, you know, there's the other thing, like on Instagram, for example, regram your customers' posts. You know what? Even if they're not talking about necessarily your product, but the solution that your product provides. You know, one of the things that, and again, not to kind of bring up the same cast of characters all the time, but Gary Vaynerchuk, and I totally agree with this, is don't even necessarily talk about, if you know that one of your customers is a Toronto Maple Leafs fan or a Montreal Canadiens fan, you know, send them a jersey or a t-shirt and just say, hey, I was thinking of you, saw this and thought you'd really enjoy it. Has nothing to do with your product, but it builds a ton of goodwill. Same thing with their content. You can use that if you don't have a UGC program in place, and maybe, you know, you're smaller, but if you have a physical product, ask people to take a picture when they receive it, and then get it on Instagram, and then regram it and tag them, right?
Yep, absolutely. Exactly. And even if it's something as tiny as writing maybe a little postcard to them that, you know, you want to thank them, it's handwritten, it's personal. You realize that, you know, you've been a customer for years, really appreciate it. I just wanted to say thanks. Most likely people will post that onto their feeds as well, right? Especially if it's a brand that they really like, for sure.
I would.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm just going to showcase this quick comment before we keep moving on. It goes over. Tyler says that he's watched our own streams often as he's developed his marketing strategies, and he also sees it as a good social proof for reinforcement. So really good. Thanks, Tyler.
Great. That's awesome. You know, this is the reason we do this. Digital marketing is not easy. It's really challenging to keep up with all of the changes and the strategies. And, you know, are my programs performing? Am I generating leads? Am I getting that engagement? Do I have KPIs? So another part of the reason for this this live stream and podcast is to just kind of open up the doors a bit and get marketers. It's funny, not to kind of dwell on this for too long, but coming from a software development background, you would think that marketers share and collaborate and, you know, try different things out together. It's actually not the case. Software developers do. They do meetups and they do co-working. They work on open source projects together. They're far more communicative as a community than digital marketers have ever been. And I always find it kind of fascinating and maybe a little bit catty at times, but the part of the reason for Live at the Hive is to really just say, like, this is what we found out and we're sharing it with you because, you know, high tides lift all boats, and geez, you know, we live in a world where you know, digital marketing is just marketing now, and it's changing rapidly.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Alrighty.
One last from Tyler here. I'm at a disadvantage. I didn't go to college, so I value what you do. Hey, you know what, Tyler? Gary Vaynerchuk didn't graduate college either. He's dropped out, and he's a multimillionaire with like dozens of companies. So you don't need that college degree. You really don't. What you do need is to have passion for an ever-changing industry, and that's what this is. What was true last year is not true this year.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yep. For sure.
Okay.
Well said.
So,
Alrighty. Next up, we're going to be talking over polling your audience. So why is it important to gain feedback from your audience through social media polls? Well, one of the first things that you can do is really kind of see what your customers think about your product without, asking for a review, right? If you're looking for instant feedback, that you're going to get within a 24-hour period with a decent sample size, if you have like hundreds of people following your account, a poll is a really great way to do that. But it's also a great way to get people engaged about your product, right?
Yep.
Or your feed. So I actually have one from I think it's a few story polls. Do you mind if I showcase that on the live, Dan?
Sure.
Okay.
We've got some good ones to share.
So this one's from Delta Faucet Canada, and they have a whole section where it's they're just polling their audience based on what they like. So a lot of it is going to be interior stuff, poolside cozy cottages, some statement pieces and stuff, and these go back quite a bit, like 109 weeks. But the amount of engagement that you get from these polls for as little time as it takes to kind of set them up on platforms like Instagram is really powerful, for sure.
Yep, totally. I think the other thing that's important about polling, dancing around. The other thing about polling is same thing about surveying, and one, you should be iterating through. Don't send your customers a 20-question survey. Send them a 2-question survey. Poll on Instagram. Collect that data, because that is when we talk about developing a persona and understanding what who your customer is. That's an ongoing process, right? So you want to design the questions and field the questions in such a way that gives you more insight into those pain points, and actually trying to find out what those pain points are and what things solve. Just as one quick example, a couple of years ago, what we did with a client that we had, and they produce goat cheeses. And one of the things that we wanted to learn was, what's their primary motivation? And it turned out their thought was that it was because it was not because they were lactose intolerant, right? Or had allergies to cheese. And what it turned out is that the vast majority, over 80% of their customers that were polled, and we used Hotjar for that one. So Hotjar is a platform you can use to do quick little polls on the website, was the vast majority of their customers did have lactose intolerance and gluten-free issues. So that informs, everything that you can do moving forward. And you want to do this on a regular basis. I think the last thing about this is the beauty of it is with Instagram is you can make it fun, right? Hotjar is great because it does it at the point of sale, and they're literally it's one question, right? One question at a time, instead of trying to get 18 questions out of somebody where you'll probably get a big attrition rate.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Alrighty, moving right along here. Number 6 is going to be share content and engage with Facebook groups. So this is one that we've talked about. I think it was a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. But joining Facebook groups, searching through Facebook groups for related content towards your company, product, business, joining them and engaging with those people. Those people have a passion strong enough to join a group of like-minded individuals to share passion for whether it's a tool, product, or company, or a topic, right? Utilize that to your advantage. Create a conversation with these people. Invite them to your page. Show them some of your content. So this is a really great opportunity to network, but also build relationships with like-minded people, for sure. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. And the other thing is that you don't have to have a huge group. You can have a small group. The power of groups on Facebook is that it has a different algorithm associated with it. And Facebook has been focusing a lot of features into groups as opposed to into pages. And I think the analogy that Zuckerberg used a couple of years ago when this became a really big deal was, think of it as your living room instead of the town hall, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The group is the living room, and for any manner of businesses, that type of engagement within a group is extremely invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Moving right along here, following your post hashtags and leaving likes and comments on posts. So this kind of goes up towards number one when we were first talking about liking and commenting on at least posts. Utilizing those hashtags that you follow on a day-to-day basis and following them on Instagram is a really great way to kind of just add a little bit more of engagement throughout your day. If you're scrolling through your timeline and you see posts with the related hashtag, like them, put a comment down, share them. It's a great way to kind of grow that account and broaden your reach for sure.
Exactly. I think the other thing that's really important is I always find it amusing when people dismiss Instagram and TikTok. That is not a smart move. There's actually I was scrolling through TikTok yesterday, and there's a guy there that worked at a paint manufacturer in the mixing department, right? And he started making TikToks about mixing paint, and it's this kind of very weird, calming,
it's almost therapeutic. Yeah,
it's almost therapeutic. If it's a whole niche. And he actually did. He was doing stuff like adding blueberries to paint and different ways to color paint. Anyhow, he put together a whole marketing proposal for the marketing department, and he's working on the manufacturing side. Anyhow, the VP of marketing was not interested, said they would never do it, and then he got fired because people were calling in and saying, "Can I mix blueberries with paint?" And they fired him, which is the most backwards logic that I could possibly even think of. If that kid is getting inbound calls because of TikTok videos to the company, that's a pretty strong inbound marketing tactic from TikTok.
They might have just thrown away their best marketing strategy for 2020 out the door.
They did. I believe he's monetizing on TikTok now, doing paint mixing videos. So,
man. Wow.
There's a whole subreddit for that sort of stuff.
Boggles my mind.
Yep, there's something for everybody. Everybody's got their community, right? So following the hashtags that you use in posts, do some research into your hashtags that are, again, don't do, like, for example, for Honeypot marketing, don't do hashtag Honeypot marketing. That's not a hashtag.
No.
It's not a trend. You want to find the trends. And there was actually a good thing on, there's a hashtag SEO chat by our friends at SEMrush and others that do it, talking about what are trends. And there are macro trends. There are huge macro trends like presidential election and, whatever else might be in there. But there are millions of micro trends, right? And micro trends, the benefit of them is you have the opportunity to stand out in them. And I believe, what we found was 10 to 15,000 followers is a sweet spot, because anybody that's following that hashtag, you'll get into their discover feed, right? Yeah. And that's the goal on Instagram, is to get into the discovery feed, because if you can do that, then you're going to get a ton of organic views.
Absolutely.
Are we gonna,
for sure?
Number 7. All right.
We got to spit by through these.
Number 8.
Number 8. All right. So use fun infographics to tell a story. So basically what we're doing right now, we've showcased this quite a bit. Every live, the graphic team, Justin and Matei, do an awesome job putting together these graphics. So yeah, it's just a great way to kind of convey your information. They're also shareable too. People love sharing infographics. So
yeah, print them up, share them. Couple of comments here. Rule to remember: Yvonne says, always make sure your hashtag have to do with the content you post. Yes, exactly. Don't just randomly add hashtags. Tyler says nobody will be searching directly for Honeypot marketing unless they're affiliated. Well, kind of reminds me of hashtag SEMrush tips. Yeah, SEMrush tips. They do that. Now, I would defend SEMrush, and I've criticized them in the past, but I would defend them on this. Is they're a pretty big platform, and they've grown in size astronomically. So in a sense, they have that product, so I could debate that for them, there are people that may actually look for SEO. Now, do you know that exists is the other thing. They would have to promote that. They should be promoting that. When you log in, follow hashtag SEMrush tips for updated tips, that kind of thing, which I've never seen. But I do agree with you there, Tyler.
Yeah,
so, totally.
Sure.
So yes, definitely get your infographics going. There's lots of other infographic services you can use as well to help with that. And you can find freelance designers that, hey, you know what? I'll give you a credit on the infographic, if you help me put it together. Be willing to wheel and deal. I definitely don't take advantage, but if you have a small budget, you don't have the budget, you can always find people to work with. The internet is a huge place, and lots of designers are hungry to get their content out there and be given credit for that.
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
Chad, do you want to bring in number 9 and a few more?
Yeah. Just for number 9, just ask open-ended questions to help build up your social. So for that, it's like you don't really want to ask, like if say you asked, let's see here, what's a good example of that? I actually have that. Sorry. Yeah, so like if I was to ask, say, what do you find most valuable about this live stream? It's kind of like an open-ended question. It kind of gives you an opportunity to talk about what you like or don't like about it. But say if I was just to switch that around and say, did you find this video helpful or valuable? Then you're turning it into a close-ended question where it's simply just like a yes or a no answer, and it doesn't really encourage much engagement. It basically just stops there. So that's why open-ended questions are so good, because it kind of initiates conversation.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm sure I'll explain
absolutely.
that as
well, and listen, again, I think this is something that we've said over and over. Read your content out as if you were saying it, and if it doesn't sound natural, then change it to make it sound natural. Yep. Simple and easy. And yeah, you can ask open-ended questions. You can ask pointed questions, but definitely ask questions. And look, if people don't answer, eventually, if you pair this with, like, use Twitter as the example, engage more with others than you post content, right? Build up those relationships in those threads and find people that are like, don't talk to Kim Kardashian. You're probably not going to get a reply, right? Or Gary Vaynerchuk, you may, but I mean, it's a bit of a crapshoot. But people that are similar sizes and have similar interests are very likely to reply to you and open up a thread. And then when you ask a question, they're going to talk to you as well.
The best way that I like to see, kind of showcase that is go to an influencer's or a person with a mildly large following on Twitter. Go through their timeline and see what they post. Chances are there's going to be a lot more retweets on there and comments to threads than actual primary tweets themselves.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that, right? So definitely keep that in mind for sure.
For sure. Let's move right along here. Sorry.
Number 10. So that's participating in trending topics and conversations. So this is pretty straightforward, but topics that kind of relate or don't relate to you, but are appropriate to kind of get involved in and join the conversation. It's really powerful. Maybe not so politically centered, but even if it's like something as simple as posting content for Monday motivation, hashtag Monday motivation, or even more specific hashtags that kind of relate to you.
I'll give you a couple of examples from Twitter, and there are different ones. I'm just going to use Twitter as an example. There's hashtag freelancer chat that happens. There's hashtag SEO chat that happens. There's hashtag actually SEM chat that happens, and they're not, they'll get 20, 30 responses. It's a niche, right? I mean, if I look at SEO and the people that I've interacted with in the SEO world, having done SEO for 20 years, you can't expect to be a Gary Vaynerchuk talking about SEO. It's not that big of a niche, what we call SEO Twitter. But who cares? Because if those are the people you're trying to interact with and build relationships with, then it's an absolutely perfect way to go about it. So yeah, and again, I think the vanity metrics on social media are that everybody looks to the hugest accounts, and you shouldn't really be doing that. You got to think about what your purpose is and who your audience is, and build appropriately towards that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a correlation between, live streaming is a great example of that. When you first live stream, you have 0 viewers, but you're comparing yourself to someone like Ninja or, Tim the Tap Man, those big guys who have hundreds of thousands of concurrent viewers, right? It's not realistic comparison. You have great content yourself. Just continue pumping it out. The people who will find it will find it, and continue to join in on your conversations.
Totally. We're not going to make it. We may make it. Use closed caption.
This one we
videos
talked about before.
We talked about, so we can.
We
skip
talked about this one. Yeah, we can skip that one. Post an Instagram story at least once a day to reach a larger audience.
Absolutely.
Again, yeah. This is something that we kind of dove into a little bit earlier briefly, but posting a story, that could be something, maybe it's a video of something that's kind of going on within the business or your home or your office.
Process, go behind the scenes, tell the story of your business, tell the story of your planning, go into a meeting room and do a quick story, right? The other thing about stories, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you may find your favorite stories, TikTok is technically one giant story, I guess. But the idea being that stories on, if we're talking specifically about Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, LinkedIn's getting a lot of hate for this stuff. And I actually think everybody that's giving them hate is wrong, because stories don't have to be you dancing to the next song. You could do a story about your quarter end metrics and successes, or how your business process works. Or if you're a real estate agent, what kind of specialized service do you provide? If you're an accountant, what do you do for your clients? And you use those LinkedIn stories, and they're smack dab right at the top of everybody's LinkedIn app. Yeah. Right.
A ton of creative opportunities with them.
Tons. And it's different than TikTok. I mean, I mean, unless you're a dancer, I guess, I wouldn't suggest doing dance videos on LinkedIn, but I would suggest doing stories. And if you go to TikTok, it's interesting because you do see accountants, and like there's a whole subgenre in there of real estate agents and investment professionals that are doing TikToks and getting hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of reactions and comments. So opportunities all over the place there.
For sure.
Get a little fired up about that. I do. And you know what? It's funny. SEO Twitter tends to slam LinkedIn like more than anybody. And I'm always like, oh my gosh.
Poor LinkedIn. LinkedIn's putting out guides being use our platform. I'm just like, no.
Yeah. But it's opportunities, greenfield. Again, like, I'm not defending LinkedIn because I love LinkedIn. I if LinkedIn wasn't there, someone else is going to be there. And if Instagram goes away, TikTok's going to come in, and Snap goes away, and someone else is going to come in.
Yeah, right. Pretty much.
It's that fight for attention. Moving on, this one's really important: is be human. Like, don't use social media as the next giant billboard for your super professional creative campaign.
Yep. Right. Yep, I'm going to showcase Tyler's comments again because this relates to it directly. But treating social media like a community platform and not as a free advertising outlet. That's a great way to put it, for sure. Creating relationships with people is the key pillar of social media. So keep that in mind when we're using it.
Yeah, it's all about community and relationships.
Yep. Okay, we might go over a little bit, but number 14. Develop Ask the Expert sessions. Oh my God, I can't read that. Develop Ask the Expert sessions. Yes. So, showcase, maybe that's when you're putting up your live video for the day, right? Maybe take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, take some questions from people, answer them on the live. People love getting answers to the questions through verbal communication a lot of the time, right? So utilizing that to your advantage, definitely a great strategy to implement and grow in your platforms, for sure.
All right.
Number 15. So it's going to be asking the opinion of your audience. We kind of dove into that a little bit earlier when we were kind of talking about Instagram polls, but utilizing different features on social media to gain some input, feedback, and opinions about your business, company, products. Definitely a great best practice for growing your social platforms.
Yep. Always ask questions.
Yep. All right. Okay. Number 16.
Ooh. Chad, you've been doing a bit of this. Matt, I know you do a bit of this.
Collaborate. I can speak. Number 16, collaborate with influencers to promote your business. So this just gets right back into what Dan was talking about earlier. It's like not being afraid to kind of reach out and collaborate with people. There's a lot of people out there. The internet's a big place, and there's a lot of people out there that would love to work with another company or work with a business. And you look into your audience and just kind of see what they relate to and what their interests are in, and kind of go in that direction. Find an influencer that kind of fits into that, and yeah, it really it'll help speak to the audience, help obviously grow your reach.
And I think the important thing here for this particular note is everybody's an influencer, right? Find an influencer within your community, within your niche, within your product range, within, for example, if I was trying to sell an SEO course, the people I would want to collaborate with are people like, in the agency side would be people like Nick Eubanks or Kevin Indig or Cyrus Shepard. All of these people are influential within the SEO community. They're not the world's, they're not Gary Vaynerchuk, but that's not the point, right? So you can certainly, hey Matt, your mechanical keyboard is all over the place there, buddy.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to reply to one of these comments here.
Okay. I have the same mechanical keyboard that for anybody that's not familiar with it, it's the mechanical part of it makes it feel like an old style typewriter, and you kind of bang away at the keys and they're loud.
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
Alrighty. Going back to number 18 now.
No, 17.
Oh, are we still 17 or
Yeah.
17? Sorry. So leveraging the power of your employees. So, that would be like utilize a lot of the times too. And we try to do this at Honeypot is we try and make sure that every team member is kind of their own influencer within the hive, right? Everyone has their own specialties, their own interests, things like that. And we like to use that to our advantage. When we're pumping out content, it just puts a little bit more life and soul within that piece of content, especially if someone is interested in it or have a passion towards it. So that's what I'm kind of thinking that number 17 is, utilizing that power and interests of your employees.
Well, yeah, you know what? And I guess I take it as a compliment, but I often hear about other companies, including companies like Google, trying to poach our team. It is what it is HR folks are HR folks.
Yep.
But one of the things is, it's a strategy that some businesses have is to hide their employees. And I as risque as that might be to say, hey, let's feature. I mean, look at yesterday's set of Instagram stories was all Stacy. Me and you're sitting there bobbing our heads. And I was like, okay, so it's the Stacy DeSantis show now. Just joke. But the point is that that's Stacy's feedback, right? And I think featuring your employees and getting people to know them humanizes your business and helps people understand who it is that they'll be working with and why they'll be working together. There you go, right? And I think by and large the teams want to create content. I mean, I think it feels good to be featured personally.
Yeah.
Okay. So making sure your content is accessible to those who have special needs. So this is easier than it sounds. We have a live stream video. We have an audio podcast. We subtitle all of our videos. I think by and large that does help, but I think you should take that into account for sure. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add there.
Yeah, there's a really good resource within Canada. It's called the AODA Compliance. It's something that you can look up online. It has a whole list of ways that you can make your content accessible for the people who have a hard time finding accessible content. So definitely search that up. It's called, again, AODA. Take a look, and they have some really great tools for you to utilize to help you with that.
Yep. For sure. Okay, next up. Yeah. Go ahead.
We kind of talked about that a little bit, but ensure that you have updated bio, contact information on all your accounts.
It's basic, but keep in mind, I've seen lots. Like for example, on LinkedIn and Facebook, the elements of the profile have changed drastically. So if you haven't gone and checked out what's additionally available there now, it goes without saying your name, your phone number, all of that basic stuff. But if you haven't gone and checked in on the health of your profile, or thought about updating some of the other elements like the banner and your thumbnails and things like that, you may be missing out on new data fields that exist there that you can use. I certainly wouldn't set it and forget it. It is pretty common. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Number 20. Boost and promote your posts to your targeted audience. This is probably one of the most important I would argue, tips on this infographic because it's so important to update your strategies. And actually, if you go to our our previous videos, go to last week's episode, and that's pretty much what we talk about all last week is just creating these boosts and promotions. So I encourage everyone right now, if you have the time later this weekend or throughout the week, go back to the previous week's video, watch that again. Some really great Tidbits, and we go actually into the business. I think the back end of Facebook to kind of show you how we boost it and the results. So
yeah,
good stuff.
And take $20-$30. You get a lot of reach. You have an opportunity to warm up your algorithm, and again, make sure you're targeting for that right audience. Like I said, on any of our videos, actually for one of our clients, we had optimized a YouTube video and this actually wasn't paid to boost. This was just SEO. Their videos had 500-600 views, kind of moderate. Optimized one video about how to be a webinar moderator. So secrets to being a great webinar moderator. It's a good video. There's a lot of good stuff in it. We optimized that. I think it's sitting at about 7,500 views on YouTube because it hit into the related searches and the YouTube search results. So it goes to say that, you could boost and target, spend a couple $100 a month. It's really a very small investment. I know that people cringe wanting to give Facebook money, but, people pay for radio ads and print ads and billboards for in the tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. A couple of little boosts here and there make a huge difference and keeps your audience growing consistently.
Yep, for sure. And if you're not looking to put huge amounts of money, there's other ways to kind of boost and promote your content too. One of the quick ways before we kind of finish up here, go through popular YouTube videos and look and see what those videos have tagged their content with. You will probably see hundreds or tens of tags that are specific to a specific interest or topic. So definitely utilize those. That's a great way to do it if you're not looking to kind of spend any money or anything like that.
Well, if you're doing marketing and you're not spending any money, and Stacy says, "Hey, don't hate me because I'm beautiful," joking, it's a real pleasure to be featured. And just one more from Yvonne. Post stories on special days like today, Friday the 13th. Love seeing different sides to your business. Absolutely. Behind the scenes and fun stuff like that for sure. Just one note on not having any money. I think it's very rare cases where you have no money at all available. I think a modest amount is worth it. Done properly. Again, don't just boost to everybody. You've got to create those audiences. And like Matt said, last week we had a deep dive into it, and it's well worth the investment. I mean, and again, I think the one thing I want to say just to close it out is when you create those audiences and you build those audiences, you're investing. That little JavaScript snippet is a whole library underneath the surface that keeps data. You're investing in building up that data that will allow you to then target your audience. They'll know you. You can make offers to them, create lookalike audiences. And so it truly is, a billboard's not an investment because once it's down, it's gone. Your newspaper ad is not an investment. Once it's down, it's gone. On Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, keep going. When you're building whether they're audiences or remarketing lists, it doesn't matter. They just have different names. You're actually investing there because you get that data and you can use that to target your audience again.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money.
Ooh, we did it. We had to.
Yeah, we got that in there. We went a little bit over, but sometimes we made up for last week. I think last week we had a little bit of a late start, so we made up for last week.
There you go. There you go. Just a couple of points of order about future lives at the Hive. We are going to be having a few special guests coming up. I'm excited to announce them once we nail it down. But again, we're kicking off our interview series. So deep dives, kind of longer form, getting behind the scenes with some influencers and people that we've worked with and know and love in the industry. Another format that's coming up is going to be called the Deep Dive. We're actually working with SEMrush right now to define some of the deep dives that we're going to be doing using their platform. So that'll be a little bit different. not sure if we'll do it on the live, but we'll definitely have a video series up about that, digging deep into some of the cool features of that platform as well. So we've got some exciting new things coming up for Live at the Hive as we round out the awesome year that was 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 years. Wow, it's been crazy. Also, just showcasing Barb. Thank you for watching, Barb. Really appreciate it as well. Always welcome back. And yeah, absolutely.
You're welcome, Barb, and thank you. We do this because we believe that that everybody should benefit from their experiences in marketing and digital marketing, especially now going into this time of year. Days getting shorter, COVID's getting meaner, lockdown's probably coming, and
it's coming.
And this is what we're going to be doing. This is it's either going to be this or Zoom calls or Google Meets. So let's get our digital groove going. So
for sure.
All right, everybody. Well, Chad, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
As always.
It's fun as always.
And we will see you next week on episode 157 of Live at the Hive, Digital Marketing from the Trenches.
See you then.
See you then.
Okay, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Have a great